you looking at my back? Well, that's appropriate because we're about to get back to basics. So today we're going to talk about rewriting equations. Now, normally we'd look at a problem like this and be like, you can't solve for y, sir. There's two letters there. One's a y and one's an x. How are you going to get y all by itself when there's an x floating around? Easy. You just keep x attached to 5 and pretend it's like a party hat or something. See, if that x wasn't there, pretend this whole time that we're doing this, pretend that x is a 0. And so pretend that this is 2y plus 50. Just pretend. 50. X's are now zeros. Equals 6. You would look at that and say, well, is y all by itself? No, because 50 is in the way, and because 2 is in the way. Well, that's not a 50. It's a 5x. It's a 5 with a party hat attached. It's a 5 with an ear piercing. It's a 5 with glasses. So what are we going to do? Well, let's just get rid of 5 and x all at the same time. So we're going to subtract 5x from both sides. So I have 6 and a negative 5x on the right side. Can I combine the 6 and the 5x? No, I can't. Why? Because one has an x and the other one doesn't. So I'm going to write out what I have. 2y, that's now gone, equals, and this is the way I'm going to write it, negative 5x positive plus 6. I always like putting my x first, just like in my dating history. I'm being humorous. Is y all by itself? No. What's in the way? 2. How do I get rid of that 2? Divide that 2. Divide it from everything. Divide it from the 5 and the 6. Rule of thumb is when you do this, simplify what you can, but keep it improper. Okay, and if you're like, I don't understand why we have to do that. Why did we have to put the negative 5x first? Why can't I make that a negative 2.5 or negative 2.5? Why do I have to listen to you? Trust me, you're going to learn something called slope-intercept form, and you're going to want to get used to putting things in this way. So if you can keep it as, or if you could simplify it, but keep it as an improper fraction if you can. Negative 5 over 2 is negative 5 over 2. Is it pretty? No, but someone's going to love it. X comes along for the ride. 6 over 2 is actually 3. How nice. And now y is all by itself. Since y is all by itself, I've officially solved for y. So this wouldn't be too different if instead of subtracting 5x, I subtracted 50. And then instead of dividing 2, I'd still divide 2. It's just now I have that x there, and so I have 2 things on the one side instead of 1, and I have to divide 2 things by 2 instead of the 1. The rules don't change that much. They're just a little more inconvenient. Now this problem is actually a whole lot nicer. I have to solve for b. My formula is a equals bh. Is b all by itself? No. What's in the way? H. How is h in the way? It's being multiplied. How do I get rid of it? Divide both sides by h. So I'm going to divide both sides by h, and h over h cancels out. Now b is all by itself. Does the a and the h on the left side combine? No, because a and h are different. In fact, one means area, the other means height, and you can't combine area and height. So I have a over h and leave it like that. And you're going to have some teachers, me being one of them, who does not like your final answer to have the variable on the right side, and they might ask you to switch the variable to the left side. And I'm going to do that right now. B equals a over h. Now b is all by itself, and I'm done. Very similar problem. Simple interest formula is I equals PRT. Principal times rate times time. If I wanted to get P all by itself and solve for the principal, like if I was doing, what interest means is how much extra money you get, like on a loan or pretty much just a loan. how much extra money you get or how much extra money you have to pay for. And if I wanted to solve for how much money I put in, that would be solving for P. Now, I'm going to rewrite the equation. I equals PRT. Is P all by itself? No. What's in the way? R and T. What are R and T currently doing? Multiplying to P. So why not just divide both of them at the same time? Well, I can. So that's what I'll do. R crosses out, T crosses out. On the left side, I have an I and an R and a T. Do any of them combine? No, because interest is not the same as rate, which is not the same as time. So I have I over R times T, and P is now all by itself. Mean, picky, crazy teacher with the backwards hat says, I don't like P on the right. Move it to the left. And the answer stays the same, but it looks a whole lot prettier. So the first problem we did, the solve for y, was a pretty tough problem. The second two were not so bad. Let's end with a bad, ugly, terrible problem. Now, this is about as ugly as you're going to see it in 8th grade or 9th grade math. I have to get h all by itself. That h. And I have all this other stuff in the way. So S equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. I believe that's a surface area of a cylinder. I believe. I have to get h all by itself. Is h all by itself? No. What's in the way? Well, this whole chunk is floating around. So what we always do is get rid of the guy that's floating around first. If that means I get rid of the entire guy, then I'm going to get rid of the entire guy. So I'm going to subtract 2 pi r squared from both sides, minus 2 pi r squared. Cross that out. Okay. Does S and minus 2 pi r squared combine? No, because S is surface and pi is pi and r squared is r squared. It's its own thing. So we write out S minus 2 pi r squared on the left. What do I have left over on the right? 2 pi r h. My job is to solve for h. Okay? And I'm going to do this the same way that I did that first problem. Not all teachers are going to do it this way, but I like to get everything as simplified and as clean as possible. So let me move my face up there because I might need the room. Is h all by itself? No. What's in the way? 2 and pi and r. How are 2 and pi and r in the way? 2 and pi and r are being multiplied to h. So I have to divide everything by 2 and pi and r, which means I have to divide u by 2 and pi and r, and divide u by 2 and pi and r. Now this is what I'm about to do is pretty advanced. So if you want to leave your answer like this, I guess that's okay. But watch what I'm about to do. See how the 2 is over the 2 and we cross it out? Why can't you do that over there? And see how the pi is over pi and we cross it out? Why can't you do that over there? This is where you have to be careful. I have an r over an r and you cross that out. I have 2 r's over 1 r. So I can cross out 1 r and be left with just an r there. And some of you might look at that and be like, yeah, I don't know about that. And that's okay. If you're just starting out 8th grade math, you don't have to think this deeply into it. But I'm a math teacher, this is what I do. So why don't I clean all of this mess up? And while I clean all of this mess up, I'm going to put h all by itself on the left. So here's h all by itself on the left. I have s over 2 pi r. So s over 2 pi r minus r. There you have it. So that last problem was brutal. Impossible? No, nothing's impossible if you just believe in yourself. Bye.